I did not get rich by learning new skills. I actually got rich by unlearning old habits. And these are the 3 habits I had to unlearn and completely quit to go from being a broke bum to a millionaire by 23. Number 1 was my friends. You're the average of the 5 people closest to you. So I had to change my 5 because your friends are either dragging you down or they're pulling you up. And odds are, if you're still friends with people that you were friends with 10, 20, 30 years ago, you probably aren't friends for the right reasons. Me, I know a lot of people watching this might be younger than me. A lot of you guys might be older than me, but I'm 26 years old right now. And 7 years ago when I started this journey, all of my friends were friends that I had in high school, not because we had similar goals, not because we all wanted to be successful, but because we were in the same math class or science class, or we hooped together. So when you have friends based on just a hobby like that, odds are they probably aren't the best friends to get you to where you want to be. Yeah, it might be fun to hang out with them. Yeah, it might be fun to party. But when that's all that they're talking about, they are simply dragging you down. So the first thing that I had to audit and the first thing that I had to change was my circle of 5, the 5 people that I was hanging out with constantly on a daily basis. And what I started to do to develop a new 5 was I started to attend networking events. I started to invest in myself and go to conferences. I started to go to just local events in my area. And I would go to events where the topic was making money, where the topic was, building connections, networking. And obviously the people that are in those rooms, the people that are taking their time out of their day or putting the money where their mouth is to attend these events, those people are more serious about becoming successful. Those people I could relate to at a different level than just, being in some class together where we would make jokes. And now all of my friends that you see me post on Instagram, YouTube, that I'm hanging out with that are multimillionaires, it's not a coincidence that I'm friends with them now, because we're just in the same rooms. We go to the same business conferences, we invest in each other and in ourselves at the same level. And that's why my friends look completely different now than they did years ago. So I encourage you, change your circle, because it's just a different type of energy when you have friends texting you every single day that are pushing you to be better. Literally, I wake up at 4 a.m. every single day and I already have texts on my phone from my friends saying, hey, I'm already on the way to the gym. Or, hey, let's get it, let's win the day. So it's just a different type of energy. Back then I would not have friends texting me in the morning saying that they were, going to the gym. A lot of times they would be hungover from some party where nothing productive happened, right? Now I actually, the friends that I follow on Instagram, the friends that I hang out with on a daily basis, they're all doing cool things like buying cars. I'm actually in my boy Spencer's Maybach SUV right now that he let me use for the video. And I'm constantly being motivated and inspired by the things that my friends are doing. And I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of like a cheat code. I don't expect other people to be as motivated as me and as productive as me if they don't have people in their circle that are pushing them to be better and inspiring them by doing cool things every single day. So I have the cheat code of having cool friends and constantly being reminded to be great because they're doing great things as well. And I'm trying to catch up. So have friends that make you feel like you got to catch up. That's cheat code number 1. And that's the one habit I had to cut off, is having friends that didn't serve me. Okay, so I had to cut that out of my life. That was the first thing. Now, number 2 is I had to remove my toxic mindset. Coming from a family that, my mom and dad were born in Nicaragua, one of the poorest countries in the world. My dad would literally play baseball with a stick and a sock. And they came here when they were 18 years old, typical Hispanic family. My dad worked construction, flooring, all those types of jobs. My mom worked as a maid. She worked in a hotel. Growing up, always seeing my parents work really, really hard, but not make a lot of money. And then always seeing, the other kids get presents during Christmas. We never got presents. Seeing the other kids, drive nice cars. I didn't even have a car up until my senior year. And then I finally bought one, a 2001 Toyota Celica for $1,500. Growing up like that, it does something to your head to where you're kind of envious in a certain way. And you kind of don't believe that anyone can be successful. You just feel like, hey, everyone gets dealt these cards and these are just the cards that I have in life. So for the longest time, I used to see nice cars, or I used to see nice things, and my mindset would immediately revert to, oh, it must be nice. Oh, they probably have rich parents, or oh, they probably inherited a lot of wealth. Like, I didn't even believe at all that I could go and do that for myself. I didn't even know the facts, like the simple fact that most millionaires are actually self-made. 70%, I think it's over 70% of millionaires are self-made, right? But if you have a toxic mindset, you just believe that all these people were lucky, or all these people just had it from when they were born. And I can tell when people have that mindset by reading the comments on YouTube, by reading the comments on Instagram, because people, whenever I post my nice things, people can't believe, they can't even fathom that a young kid like me could own a 24-unit apartment building, that a young kid like me could drive a Lamborghini, because for so long, they've been telling themselves so many negative things and they've never thought positive for once. So I had to change my mindset, and I had to understand that you can achieve anything. I can achieve anything. Like, if another human being has done it, you can do it too. Once I started to adopt that mindset, and once I started to hang around people that had that same mindset as well, I started to see that, making money is pretty simple. It's just a different game that you have to play. And as long as you're willing to play it and play by those rules, you can start making money as well. So, but up until you realize that you can do it, it's gonna be very, very hard to even start making any progress towards making more money and just living a more abundant life, right? My boy Spence actually sent me this the other day, but he was reading a Joel Osteen book. And in the book, Joel Osteen talked about how you can't think lack, you can't speak lack and have abundance, right? You can't speak sickness and have health. So if you're constantly telling yourself that you're broke, that you're not favorable, that you're not going to get these things, then obviously it's not gonna happen, because the only thing true in life is what you believe is true. So if you believe that you're in a bad circumstance, if you believe that you're not going to get the things that you want, if you believe that you were born to be impoverished, then that's going to be your life, right? If you believe that life is a battle, life is going to be a battle every single day that you wake up. But if you believe that you live in a world with immense opportunity, if you believe that you are going to eventually get what you want, if you believe that everyone that works hard eventually gets the things that they deserve, then your life is gonna look a lot different, right? So the other thing that I had to change, habit number 2 that I had to unlearn, was just having this toxic mindset. Now my mindset is way better, and my life has truly changed just by thinking differently. And the last thing that I had to cut out, this one was probably the hardest, was my comfort zone, right? I had to leave the town that I grew up in. I had to leave the ego that I had, and I had to go seek help. I had to go get around people that were all doing more than me, that were all, way smarter than me. And I had to ask them for help, right? As men specifically, it's very hard for us to ask other people for help because we feel like we have to have everything figured out. And that's simply not the case. If you are not where you want to be in life, you need to find someone that has already done the things that you want to do, and you need to go and learn from them. And also, if you're comfortable in life right now, where you've been in the same routine for so long, you've been hanging around the same people for so long, if you're comfortable right now, you have to learn how to get comfortable being uncomfortable, okay? When I moved out of the town that I grew up in, and I moved to the city, and I started being around an environment where everyone had a nice car, where everyone was making a lot of money, everyone was making moves, it made me feel very uncomfortable, because I was like, dang, I'm a small fish in this big pond. And it forced me to grow. Like, it forced me to level up. And I just recently did the same thing. Like, this doesn't stop. Like, we don't stop learning. We don't stop growing. I'm a big advocate of you're either growing or you're dying, right? So recently I was in Atlanta about a year ago, and I got comfortable, right? Like, I had the penthouse in Atlanta. I had a Lamborghini. I would go into my parking garage. I would be the only Lamborghini in the parking garage. And I was like, you know what? Like, I don't feel uncomfortable anymore. I feel like I beat the game. So I moved to Miami, Florida, where every 100 feet you see another Lambo, you see a Bugatti, you see cars like this. And it's put me in a different mind frame where I'm like, okay, I have to compete again. Like, I'm a small fish in a big pond again. And I'm gonna continue to do that, because you truly have to get uncomfortable to level yourself up. But most importantly, I had to humble myself. I had to start asking questions to people that had it figured out, right? Because your ego is truly a trap. I say it all the time, but when you remove the ego, you add some zeros to the bank account, right? A lot of people, they're literally poor because they're too egotistical to ask a question, right? They have this ego that doesn't allow them to get help from others. So I had to humble myself. I had to find mentors, and that's truly what got me to where I'm at. Because back in high school, middle school, I had a huge ego. I was a competitive basketball player. I thought I had everything figured out, or at least I wanted to look like I had everything figured out. But once I removed that from my personality, I started to, actually make friends with people that were doing more, started learning from them, and eventually I got to where I wanted to be. Sometimes what's keeping you broke isn't what you're doing, it's what you're not willing to quit, right? What got you where you are in life right now isn't gonna get you to where you want to be in life in the future. So the current you is not going to just suddenly take you to where the future you wants to be, right? Your current reality has to change. You have to change who you are right now to reach your desired reality. If you would have met me 7 years ago, back when I was broke, you would be talking to a completely different person. Number one, I could barely speak English. I was always using crazy slang, always cussing, like I was crazy. And then I dressed very different as well. I didn't know anything about business. All of my friends were idiots because, I mean, you're the average of the 5 people closest to you. I was an idiot. So obviously all 5 of my friends were idiots too. And now, you know, I'm very well versed in business. I run an 8-figure company. All of my friends are multi-millionaires and doing crazy things. And it's simply because I had to change who I was. And life is literally just a mirror. So once I changed who I was, once I developed better habits, once I started to, you know, surround myself around better people, everything just started to change, okay? So if you're watching this video, if there's one thing that I want you to take away, it's that you have to change your inner self first before your outer world starts to change. The inner work has to happen before the outer world starts to reflect what you want it to reflect, okay? This goes back to kind of what I said earlier, like the mindset shift has to come before the income shift, because the mindset is the cause. Your reality, your current reality is the effect. So change the cause first and then the effect will change as well. I hope you enjoyed this video. My name is William Rivera. I will see you guys on the next one. Peace.